Thank you very much for a very nice presentation. I think we still have like a little less than 5 minutes for questions. And I can see in the chat that Anna Giuliano actually already asked, I think it was Tanya, have you seen differences in the adverse events following the second mRNA vaccine dose by vaccine manufacturer, that is Pfizer versus the Moderna? And Tanya actually already responded directly in the chat. Would you care to respond yourself, Tanya?
Oh, yes. So we do in the, I think the second publication that I have cited in the PowerPoint, we did find that the second dose, in addition to the second dose reactogenicity being a little bit higher, that appears to be a little bit more pronounced for Moderna's vaccine as compared to Pfizer's vaccine. So I think both reflect the phase 3 clinical trial experience, but then at least comparing what people are reporting, it does appear that the reactogenicity is a bit more pronounced for Moderna than it is for Pfizer.
Do you want to comment, Anna?
Yeah, I just, just to follow up on that, sorry, I'm having a hard time getting my video to work here. Just to follow up on that, I'm just wondering how that's going to influence the, more and more people now will have had vaccine. And, at first, the coronavirus vaccine at first was the highest risk groups. And so, one of the things, it's all relative in terms of what people accept as an AE. And certainly for those 65 and older with medical conditions, they're really excited to get vaccine. But as we move into younger and younger populations, I'm wondering how the reporting of adverse events that's on the street may impact the willingness to be vaccinated in the younger age groups. And then as a spillover, and Heidi, this comes back to your talk, does that then negatively spill over with vaccines of any sort, not just the coronavirus vaccines? So Tanya, are you first? Is there a sense of how this could be influencing uptake of vaccine in the younger populations now that we have a broader age group that's eligible?
Yeah, I think it's not clear to me that there's broad awareness that Moderna is slightly enhanced reactogenicity in a way that would affect maybe the younger populations in terms of making that decision. I think anecdotally, I have heard of more interest in the single dose simply because people, especially those who are a little bit phobic about vaccines and jabs in general, have been interested in just being able to get one single stick. So it may be something that the story continues to be developing on this.
Okay, we also have a question from Michael Chung, also to you, Tanya. Actually, he asks, we have already seen reports of more blood clots among younger women receiving some of the COVID vaccines, and it remains a question whether this would be due to self-report. Do you have a comment for that?
Well, I think you correctly identify that there is always the question of whether there's some stimulated reporting happening. But I think until we can make a really solid comparison, it's difficult for me to have an answer to that question.
I actually also have a smaller question for you. I was very impressed about the smartphone-based surveillance system, and also that you are investing in the future, so to speak, by the pregnancy registry. Will you be able to also make a follow-up of the children subsequently, or is that not possible?
The infants are followed at about 3 months of life. So we won't be following them beyond that point, but there is a follow-up on the infant after delivery.
Okay. Margaret, I think you have your hands up.
Sorry, I wanted to get back to Heidi's point about vaccination experience. And I think we had a beautiful illustration in the talk from Dr. Castro of how you can um, modify the vaccination experience by the attitude and interaction of the vaccinator, because he transformed an attitude of one of the girls who was very anxious by being very human and understanding the feeling. And I think that's really important in the training of the vaccinators. So I think this is something we concentrate on the science, and we forget that this is an experience, and sometimes a worrying experience for the individual. So if we're going to improve things, then it's back to the training of health professionals, and in this case, vaccinators. How do you deal with the tricky individual in front of you who doesn't want to be vaccinated, who's frightened, and who doesn't know why she's frightened or he's frightened?
Do we have more questions? Not in the chat. Anybody have the hands up? I can't see the hands, so I'm a little bit. You have to speak up. If that's not the case, I think that I think it has been a really good session, and as I said, I was very impressed about the smartphone-based safety monitoring, and it really it's inspiring also for the other vaccines, and I'm sure that will also be seen in the future. And to sort of, I'm totally in agreement with Margaret that this is the thing that you told us about, Heidi, that it's not the vaccine itself. Sometimes it's the experience and the whole feeling about getting this. It's humans we're dealing with, and it's not we cannot take it for granted that everybody reacts in the same way. So if there's nothing more to add from the rest of you, I would thank the speakers and all of you listening. And then I think there's coffee or whatever is the right thing at this point where you are. So thank you.
Heidi and Tanya for the nice presentations. So just a short housekeeping announcement. So the final session after the coffee break will be the breakout sessions. We will create 3 groups that will, and the idea is to have a little bit more interaction, to have also a floor for more country experiences to be shared, to deal on lessons learned and the way forward. So the idea is that each group appoints a rapporteur who then brings back the conclusions of the discussion during the plenary after 40 minutes of discussion, and just have a brief wrap-up of 5 minutes for each group. So thank you very much, and we can have now some time to have coffee or whatever during the next 25 minutes. So we reconvene at 5 to the hour.